So we just got out of Undertone from A24. I've already seen the movie, but I wanted to revisit because my girlfriend have not seen it and she was curious about the movie based on the trailers. And of course, the concept being that it's clearly trying to scare you from an auditory approach, from all the sound effects and all the sound design, all that jazz. And like this was in Fantasia festivals that was getting some recognition there. That's how it bought the distribution rights from A24, and has a very low budget. I think at least like $500,000 or something like that, and which makes sense. Yeah, which is impressive. And it is mostly just like a bottle movie where it just takes place in one location, which is Evie's mom's place, since Evie has to take care of her mom, who is essentially dying in her bed or something like that. Bedridden, yes. But she's like wants to focus on her podcast called the Undertone, where she and her friend Justin, who live in different areas, try to figure out these supernatural elements, and like one clearly believes in it, one is the skeptic. So it definitely has some typical horror archetypes, like the one who believes in everything, and then there's the skeptic, and then, as things progress, yada. And of course, like, they find these two audio logs, as it starts up pretty small, but then it just gets progressively creepy, in air quotes. We'll see how it goes as it goes along, and I still enjoy it. But before I get to my thoughts, what about you?
I thought it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the use of the sound effects, of course. Some of the visuals were very pretty, like the way they were able to pan the cameras.
Yes.
I thought that was really good.
The movie really did make you feel like, you've seen a lot of horror films, so it's like make you think like there's something there, and it's not.
Like the way they had it kind of slightly off-centered, I kept thinking, like, is something supposed to come up? Am I missing something? Should I be looking in the hallways?
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought that was like really good use of the footage.
Mm-hmm.
Was it scary?
Well,
no.
I mean, for you to be scary would be like a godsend to me. So
the use of the sound effects did kind of like get you suspenseful, because you're like, okay, when is the big loud noise is gonna hit, or when's the random screaming? But then you had to focus too to make sure you didn't miss any of like the whispers or the hidden messages, and I thought that was actually really cool.
That was like the one aspect I was trying not to tell you, because I remember before I watched this movie, I remember we had a conversation about darker meaning elements in children's nursery rhymes. That was the one thing I tried to make sure not to talk about when I watched it first time, because I was literally when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh my goodness, my girlfriend and I talked about this topic, and that was like really cool how it explores that.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago either.
No, I mean, the only thing they did not bring up was the one we talked about with like the Ring Around the Rosies. Yes,
they mentioned it, but they didn't like go into detail.
No, but they do like on other songs. And then also with Ring Around Rosie, it's not that like relevant to it. It's just more so one of those songs that just has that dark meaning to it. And I do like how it explores those nursery rhymes, in case you're wondering like, oh, if like, is Ring Around the Rosie just the only one, or there's plenty or darker meanings. But the movie also said like, there's multiple interpretations to make out of it. It's like, oh, it could be like, oh, there's darker meanings but it also could be just unintentional or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I do think does play a good role from the skeptic to the believer, and to that. And it makes sense like why they're doing the things that they do, because they are podcasters and they do the research that they can from just the internet, instead of just go to the library and all that stuff. So there are some like horror cliches, but they just kind of like subvert them, and they do something like, okay, this makes sense why they're doing this. It makes sense why they're doing that, and of course, they just want to keep exploring further because, curiosity kills the cat and all that. And it was interesting how they do kind of like linger on like the religious symbolism, especially like knowing from like a character study of the main girl who, well, spoilers, is pregnant and like doesn't think of herself to be a good mom. probably worried that she's gonna be like her mom in terms of like, you know, being a believer and all that stuff, and she's over here just like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Which, and she thought to herself, well, go ahead.
I think too, like, her lack of family and then the lack of like relationship is probably going through her head. Like, am I ready to be a mom, or am I even going to be a good mom?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then the fact that her mom is dying, she doesn't have that person to talk to really help her figure out next steps. And I think that is kind of like a hit in the soft spot for a lot of people that probably watched it.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of a cool, you know, way to do it.
Yeah, because the only people she ever talked to is Justin, her co-host, podcast co-host, and some not really boyfriend, but like guy that basically she got pregnant as a result from him.
Yeah.
That he's just kind of like, just kind of just there.
And Mama didn't talk.
No, but I feel like she said like a lot of things.
Mama was, I'll have to say that she was creepy. There was some times where I was all like, is she gonna move? Is she gonna open her eyes? Like, but I would have liked to see something like that. I think that would have been a cool little detail to add.
Yeah, cause like, and I do like the audio logs and stuff. They kind of like feel like a short film in themselves.
Oh yeah.
That does remind me of like movies I've seen, like The Guilty, or like I also said a little bit like Pontypool, where it's just like, again, taking place in one area, and it's just, you know, something that involves like radio or something that just kind of activates things and all that stuff. And it doesn't, and like, while it does kind of remind me of those movies and kind of like Paranormal Activity, which the director actually is recently announced that he's gonna be doing the next Paranormal Activity film, which I'll actually be looking forward to seeing it. Especially since, like, knowing the fact that the budget is very low, I honestly felt like it could go even further into the sound effects with a bigger budget that could potentially, like, really knock our socks off. Because, like, the crowd, our audience, were, like, having the same reactions as me.
Yeah, they were all holding their ears. One little girl yelped.
We were all scared.
And then there was a person in front of us that kept pointing at things. I'm like, I think you're delusional because I'm not seeing the same thing you're pointing at. Like,
we were all terrified out of our wits, especially like those last 10 minutes.
Yeah, that had me shook.
We were all, except for my girlfriend. No. All of us, except for my girlfriend, were like scared. We were so scared. I was like clutching. I felt like I was in that fetal position. I was shaking.
I was surprised you could see the screen, and you've seen this before.
I've seen it before, but it's still terrifying to me. There were some aspects I forgot about because I was more focused, like, okay, like, I think this is the one where I'm like, okay, gotta close my ears. Or like, cause when I first watched it, most of the movie, I was just covering my ears. This time I was like, it's less so, but I think it's like more so like 1/4 or close to half. So
you had your ears covered quite a bit.
But that last 10 minutes though, fuck that.
You were hunkered in.
Fuck that. I was way too scared to see. That's when I was saying in my original review, I was saying like it just gave me like a new experience of just being fucking terrified that no other horror film was ever giving me, which is focusing more on the sound effects. Especially when watching in Dolby Cinema, it really utilized that sound effect to its full potential at the last 10 minutes.
I am glad we did see it in Dolby because I feel like if you watched it in just regular, it wouldn't feel the same.
No, because like in the last 10 minutes, or at least like the last 2 minutes or less, it was starting to feel interactive, especially when the sound effects was like not just from the screen, but from like the side and the back of it.
Yeah, bouncing around.
It felt like interactive, where it's like the sound is literally like in your ear.
It was like we were listening to through the headphones.
Yes.
It was nice.
It was terrifying. And hearing the fucking Abasu's demon's name, or just or his voice is creepy as hell.
Voice. It was a woman.
Woman, yes, but it still sounds creepy as fuck. Especially like, you know, connecting like motherhood and like, you know, babies and not really feeling unfit to be a parent.
Yeah.
And so they decide to kill their own children as a result of it.
Well, she was telling them all those things because she couldn't have children.
Yeah.
So it wasn't they were actually thinking it. So you can look at it as like this demon is a form of postpartum depression.
That could be a possibility. Never thought of it that way, but
If you didn't want to look at it as a religious standpoint.
yeah. I mean, and also just again, from my rich review, like there's a one part in the movie that I had to look at my girlfriend and I was like, that's you.
Oh, right. Sounded like the person.
I was like, that's you. You're in this movie.
Especially the way I say good morning.
Every time she says that, I'm just like,
You're gonna think of me as Jessie now.
what the fuck?
I'll start singing songs backwards.
I was so like that's the kind of like personal impact that was like fucking me up more so than like anyone, because I have that rare moment where I'm like, that's my girlfriend. Like that sounds like my girlfriend. Why does that sound like my girlfriend? It's for fucking me up every time I was hearing that. And the second time I'm just like staring at my girlfriend.
I couldn't hear it at first, but after she kept talking, I was like, that does sound a little bit like me.
I was like, what the fuck?
The soft, gentle good morning. I was like, oh no, that is me.
I was like, what the fuck is happening?
And now tomorrow I'm gonna be like, good morning! Wake up! 2 in the afternoon!
The sunshine says goodbye.
Yeah. Black sheep!
Oh my god. Like, the acting is really good. I do think the main girl is really solid. She can be a little unlikable at times, but
yeah.
I honestly, like, at second viewing, I did feel she was a little bit more unlikable, but it still wasn't enough for me to be like, want her to die, essentially.
I think I started to like her more about 2/3 of the way.
When was that? when the mom died? Or said died, quote unquote?
Yeah, I think that's when I started. Like, not so much right before they listened to the videos 9 and 10. I think right about video 7 when she starts like, hold on, let me look this up myself.
Yeah.
I think that was when I was like, okay, she's a little bit more invested, a little bit more intrigued. I like this.
Yeah. And she's like, there's literally some points that definitely felt like she was in denial. Especially,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, there are some points you're like, yeah, I do agree with her, but I think later on in the movie you're just like, no.
Yeah.
There's no denying this.
Somebody that kept whispering in my ear, and I couldn't hear some of the small little details. I was like, shh, try to listen. Cover your ears.
Because I was terrified. What do you want me to do?
Let me hear it.
I might as well just like cover my face with a blanket. I don't know.
I think one of the ladies in the front did do that.
Yeah, I don't blame that person because it's terrifying.
She was the first one to stand up when it was over. Gotta go.
Oh my goodness.
I have to now change my pants.
I was literally like looking at the audience. Everybody was just like having some form of reaction from it. But are there any like issues you have with the movie? Because I know it's a slow burn, and it did kind of felt more slower on second viewing, at least in the beginning. But again, I was still interested where it was going.
I do feel like they needed to make the beginning a little bit more intriguing, a little bit more invested. I needed to know a little bit more about Mama. I needed to know.
I think like the intriguiness like went a little down for me. It was like after like the first tape or two or something like that. You know, after like they take their break and all of a sudden there's like a little bit like a downtime or something like that. But like I still find it still like intriguing, still very interesting, even if I've seen it the second time now. That clearly, obviously, it gets going when it gets going, and I think like it has that interesting build up with a little bit downtime, but when it pays off, it definitely does pay off, especially those last 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, you're right. It did make up for it, that's for sure.
What would you give this movie?
I'd give it an 8.
8? Okay.
Yeah. jump scares were nice. But, I mean, again, I didn't think it was scary by no means.
No.
It did pique my interest throughout the whole thing, which was a good change.
Yeah. And it's just giving you like a different experience of a type of horror film. Because I can't think of like, I rarely think of any horror films that's trying to like actually scare you from like an auditory experience. Try to scare you through the sound designs and everything. I do think it's like, I did change my rating a little bit. It's like a low 9. Because it was like a regular 9, but now it's a low 9.
Yeah.
Closer to an 8, but I still give it a 9. Because, like I said, there's some points I feel like it's like maybe a little too slow, I guess. But it's like peaks of it. It's only like glimpses of it. I was like, But other than that, like when it gets going, and then keeps you riveted from that end or that beginning area to the end. That the ending is just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Gives you like something you have never really got from a horror film. And that's not to like gaslight or like gatekeepers. It's just like, I just can't think of like, I legit can't think of like a horror film that like tries to scare you from like surroundings, not from the theater or not from like the movie itself, but just like the surround sounds surrounding the theater itself.
Yeah, like the all black screen, and then you just had the noise or the sounds. I thought that was very cool.
Because it make you feel like you're like there with her.
You had no choice but to listen.
Yeah, and it felt like you're like in a haunted house attraction. You just like clear of your own surroundings, and you're just like going left and right, behind. Like that's how I was feeling the first time I watched it. Like obviously I did it the second time, but it's not as like quick. Like first time I was like really fucking terrified. Like like if you saw me there, you would have been laughing even more. I feel like because I was like way too terrified. And so that's basically it for our review. What do you think of this movie? Comment below. Let me know. Really enjoyed it. I'm sure we'll definitely be looking forward to the next Paranormal Activity film, which I rarely say that because I don't really get looking forward to Paranormal Activity films nowadays. But this time I actually am. So what'd you think about it? Comment down. Let me know. And I'll see you in the next review. Take care.